Hey guys, Caleb here with the DSLR Video Shooter, and this is my production monitor. It's what I use every single time I film in this space. I've never done a video on it, so today I figured I'd fix that. Everything mentioned in this video will be down in the description, and this video has no sponsor, but it is supported by those of you who have purchased my camera equipment over at camerafoundry.com. My camera guides and LUTs, the small rig and Caleb Pike 212 battery, and all of that will be down in the description. Thank you guys so much for the support. All right, so this monitor is the Atomos Sumo 19, and it's still for sale today. I think they changed it to the SE, and for the money, this thing is pretty fantastic. It is under $2,000. It's a 19-inch touchscreen capable, really video recorder. In fact, I can fire up a backup recording right now, and I have it set up as a wireless configuration. So the way I use this is on the side of my camera, I have what looks like this, a video transmitter. It is a Hollyland transmitter, and again, I'll have a link in the description, and that transmits a 4K signal from my camera via HDMI or SDI over to this receiver. This receiver is then hooked up to the monitor itself, and it gives me a 4K image here to be able to look at. This entire thing is on a rolling stand, so I can move it all over the studio, which is really what makes this special and what I would recommend if you're gonna go with a production monitor. Make sure it's wireless and make sure it's on wheels. I can't tell you how invaluable it is to be able to have something that you can wheel over to the background of your set, take with you, and look at and figure out what's going on with the blue light strip over there, and you can play with your lights and stuff and then put it back or move it around the studio. And I usually have this off to one side of my camera setup so I can glance over and make sure I'm getting good eye light and whatever I got to do with lighting and framing. You could go with a smaller display, but I love having a nice big display that I can really see what's going on, even if I'm a little further away. So this is 19 inches. I would recommend sticking with something 15 or larger, unless you're going to have it really close or you're not going to be filming yourself and you're able to just stick your face right up in there. But even still, having something like this that you can move around is just so nice with that size. The other thing I love about this monitor is the robustness and how many mounting points there are all over it. So you can see I've got a little monitor arm here and a cold shoe over here if I need to quickly add a different receiver or other gear. On the sides, I have these NATO handles that are removable. So there are 1/4 20 and 3/8 threads all around the monitor. I've added NATO rails so I can add NATO gear very easily, and having the handles is really nice just to be able to grab the monitor, move it around, pull it around on the stand, and remove it because I also have the feet installed. So this whole thing can come off of the stand, and we'll look at the back here in a second, and I can drop it down on a desk, hook it up to a computer, or just use it at a station somewhere else if needed. So the other nice thing about this is it's completely wireless. So that's going to bring us to spinning everything around so we can take a look at the back. You're going to hear the fans on this thing. It's not silent, but here's what the back looks like. You can see I've got Small Rigs Caleb Pike Collaborative 212 monster batteries on the back here, giving us a ton of battery life. I'm actually press the button. I think only one of these is being used right now, but it's set up in a relay mode so it can use one battery and then switch over to the other, so you can hot swap throughout the day if you need to. So currently we're using just under 60 watts, and at 81% on this battery, I can run this for another 3 hours and 8 minutes. Once that's done, it's going to switch over to the backup battery off to the side here, and that's powering the monitor, which is currently recording, as well as the transmitter over here. I purchased this bracket to hold both of these battery plates, but I believe that comes with it now. It's called the Batwing battery plate, and then all you need to do is purchase whatever battery plates you want. So I went with V-mount because that's primarily what I use here in the studio, but you can also get gold mount, and I think it's around $200 for a set of battery plates like you see here, and they both connect to the back via XLR into the monitor for power. You'll also see over here I have a D-tap splitter coming out of one of the battery plates so that I can power other accessories. Sometimes I'll have other transmitters on here for multiple different inputs, as well as other gear. Currently I'm just using one that is going to my transmitter, or my receiver rather. So you're able to power multiple things and just have this whole thing be wireless. So you can roll around on a stand, or you can pop it off the stand. To mount the transmitter, I used to have it on top of the monitor, but I really like it off to the side. It keeps things nice and compact, as you see here. The other fun thing is I have a monitor mount. So it's a cold shoe to a 1/4 20 thread going into the bottom of the receiver with HDMI at a right angle. So it's nice and tidy. There's no big cables coming off the back. We also have the power cable right here. And having it on a monitor mount allows me to drop it down so I can access my SSD, which you can see with a little red tape here going into the side of the monitor. So it's just another backup. And since this transmitter and receiver combo is 4K, I'm actually recording a 4K wireless backup on this monitor setup. So if I need to access it, I can simply flip down the receiver, and then when I want to go into a more compact mode, I just flip it back up like you see there. I also have the transmitter facing the same direction as the display, so I can quickly read information on the side there. Very simple. Turn this thing on with one button and flip that switch, and I'm ready to go ahead and start monitoring my stuff. The only other thing to mention on the back is going to be the mount. This is a very basic VESA mount to baby pin receiver, female receiver. It's fine. It works great. It gets the job done. I would like something a little more robust. This is a pretty heavy setup, especially with 2 of these batteries. So I might go with something from Innovative or somewhere else. It's a little floppy, and so you kind of got to get it into a spot and lock it down. It'd be nice to have something a little more robust, but again, it's worked for 10 years or whatever. I think it's going to be just fine. Now let's flip things around and talk about what I do with this thing. So not only do I use it for composition, but it's also an invaluable image quality / LUT and exposure tool when I'm filming. So there's so many things built into this. So if you tap the display, and that's a big thing I would recommend too, is go with a touchscreen if possible. You know, there's a lot of monitors with buttons all the way down the side, and sure, you can program them, but it's so nice just to be able to quickly access all the tools I need right at the touch of the display without having to mess around with trying to which button is programmed to what and use a little thumb jog and jig and joystick and stuff. Touchscreen, that's the way to go, in my opinion. So here I have LUT, so I'm going to turn off the LUT. So now this is just looking at my A7 IV with S-Log3, no LUT applied. And I can go ahead and apply one of my Caleb Pike LUTs, which I also sell, link in the description. And what's cool about these LUTs is I've set them up to have different exposure shift values. So here I have a LUT that is 0 stops of adjustment for exposure. So this is what it'll look like if I just slap on the LUT without anything in post-production. I like to overexpose or expose to the right. You can research that. There's a lot of reasons to do that, especially with S-Log3 on Sony cameras. So what I like to do is go ahead and turn on my 1-stop LUT. So you can see the difference here. There is no stop adjustment. See how much brighter everything is on the image here. And I'll go ahead and add 1 stop. So that's gonna help me expose to the right or overexpose, and then drop that down by 1 stop or 1.5. I can even go up to 2 stops here. And I have all these installed on the monitor. I even have a false color one specifically designed for S-Log. So anyway, really nice to have these LUTs built into the display. There's a ton of other stuff here though. You can see I've got a kind of grid set up here so I can play around with framing options. We can go in here, we can do a 2x jump in. So again, touchscreen. Woo, look at that. Okay, let's move over here. The touchscreen, I can check my focus. Are my eyes in focus right now? Well, there's a 2x punch in, and I can move around and check all that stuff. So really, really handy. Of course, if you're gonna do anamorphic, all that stuff's built in here, and it just works really well. So that's the setup. There's some other options out there if you don't want to spend this much, and really this is not a lot of money for a production monitor. This is a pretty cheap production monitor. Things can get ridiculous when you look at Small HD or Flanders or other companies. That said, there are companies like Feel World or OC who have really nice displays for much less. So I think you can get an OC 22-inch with the battery plates, and it's like $1,300 versus this, which is around $2,000 before you add the battery plates. But I believe that one is not touchscreen, so you know there's pros and cons there. That said, this thing has been an absolute trooper since I've purchased it, and another recommendation is find a monitor that you like and stick with it, because that kind of becomes your eyes. Over time, you're going to learn what your monitor can do for you and cannot do for you, and it really does become something that very quickly you don't need to use waveforms and false color and all that cool stuff that this monitor can easily do. Between your LUTs and your camera, if you're using those consistently, you're going to very quickly use this and be able to see exactly what is going to work and what is not going to work when you go out to film. So that's going to wrap this video up. Thank you guys so much for watching. My video I was going to publish today fell through because I didn't have the right quantities of a couple accessories for a custom build. Hopefully that'll be up next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a happy Halloween, and we will see you guys in the next video.